Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Michael Prywes, who is the managing attorney with Prywes PC and the author of the forthcoming book, soon to be released, The Gasp. Welcome to the program, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
You're welcome. So, hey, tell us a little bit about your background, what led you to law, and what led you to focus in the area that you're focusing on with artists, and kind of then merge that into, the startup aspect.
Yeah, so this is actually, this is all somewhat talked about in the intro to my book. My life has been kind of a winding road, and I was a film and internet producer. I've always been a very creative person, and never in a million years did I expect to be an attorney. In fact, I consider myself an accidental attorney. I actually started up a theater company and then a production, film and video and internet production company, and worked on that for 10 years. But with the collapse of my second feature and a number of other matters that came into play following the successful release of my first feature, I ended up going to law school at night on scholarship, so I didn't have to pay to go to law school, and I never planned to be an attorney. So I went to law school at night, worked in the entertainment industry during the day, first for my own production company, and then I worked for ASCAP, worked in there with their in-house counsel, and then I worked for 2 years for a DVD and digital distribution company called New Video Group, which has since become Cinedigm, which is, it really was a wonderful experience. But I never planned on practicing law, and then when I graduated law school, my law school professor asked me to become a trial attorney with him. And I had no business being a trial attorney, but he thought I was a great student and I'd make a great trial attorney, and I thought this would be like Law and Order. And so I said yes, and I did it for 5 years, and I became very good at it, but it was not for me. It just, it was not what I was meant to be doing. And one day, after a really great deposition, but a really awful deposition at the same time, because I felt horrible afterwards because I really gutted my adversary. I told my wife I need to look for some other work because this is going to kill me. And even though I was good at it, I just said, I need to look elsewhere. And ultimately, I decided I wanted to be the attorney to artists and entrepreneurs, that type of attorney that, as much as I had some wonderful attorneys in the beginning of my production company, I really wanted that hand-holding attorney back then, and I wanted to be that hand-holding attorney back then. So I've been doing this for 2 years. I had a business partner, and he actually left the practice of law earlier this year. But I actually have been guiding all different types of artists and creative entrepreneurs, and after a year of doing that, I realized I was learning a whole lot from all my different clients, that ideas and systems and processes that would be helpful to other clients. So I decided to take what I've learned guiding my clients and create the handbook that I would have wanted as an entrepreneur, and I want my clients to have, and I wrote that book. And incidentally, I've also been hosting a podcast for the past year called How I Broke Into, where I've been interviewing just unbelievable artists and entrepreneurs and hearing about what they did to become successful. So using all that information, I put that all in the book, and that's what we have today.
That's really awesome, and I love when titles are kind of well woven. Last night I was listening to a podcast, and this book was recommended, and the title of the book, it just was intriguing. I probably won't read it because it's all about data, and that's kind of just, a little beyond me, but it's called Weapons of Math Destruction, MATH, and talking about how math and data and algorithms just rule how we operate. So I love Grasp the Gasp. What's the genesis behind even just that title, and what's that, laser-focused takeaway?
So the Gasp is, I actually start off with the definition of the Gasp. The Gasp is not all entirely positive. It grabs you, and it's kinesthetic, and you just feel this burst of gasping for air, taking in air quickly, but you realize that even with every great idea, so the Gasp is that great business-oriented or creative-oriented idea that just takes hold of you, and you then, of course, Google, or you go to IMDb, or you go to Etsy, or you go to the USPTO, but you worry. You instantly start to worry. Did somebody else take this idea? Is this idea actually doable? Does this idea conform to everything I want out of life? And suddenly it becomes a source of stress. And so the idea behind the Gasp is you first have to figure out what Gasp is the good one to really capitalize on that and grow it and cultivate that Gasp into a winning business. And so that's how I came across that. Incidentally, I start off with the story of that deposition I mentioned. I actually thought I was having a stroke, and I was gasping for air. And it turned out to be the worst migraine of my life, but I really thought I was dying at that point. And I just having that echo in my head, the idea of gasping for air, but it turning out to be a good thing, is something that can be nurtured and turned into something that became, for me, a winning business. I think it was a terrific metaphor.
Yeah, I really do as well, and it is true. A gasp could be good or bad, and you know what? A pivot in business. You think about small business, pivots, and you read those in the Lean Startup and things like that. Most of the time, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing, because you could have shiny object syndrome and feel like I need to pivot or change, and you just didn't give it enough time to really work that plan. So when you work with startups, what are some of the most common mistakes they make when they start up, either from an entrepreneurial sense or even from a legal sense?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. A pivot is a wonderful illustration of that Gasp. Unfortunately, one of the problems is people don't know when to pivot and when not to pivot. And a lot of people don't even understand necessarily the concept of the pivot. And I did read The Lean Startup. I think it's a very good book. As for choosing when to pivot, I think a lot of people choose to pivot too soon. And without, you were talking about data, I think without enough data, basically it becomes fight or flight. And the reality is that the mistakes a lot of people make, if somebody's coming to me before they've really developed a business, which is my preference, they've already overcome one of the most commonly made mistakes, which is not going to an attorney early, or not going to an accountant early, not recognizing that this is part of the cost of doing business. People know they need a company. A lot of the times they come to me and say, I need an LLC. And I ask them, first of all, let's back up. Why do you even need a company? Let's first find out if you've got something worthy of a company. A company is all about credibility and all about liability. And if you don't even know why you're starting up a company to begin with, you can't then tell me you need an LLC. LLCs are state structures. They're different in different states, how they're treated. In New York State, for instance, there's a publication requirement that in New York City, people actually pay over $1,000 to publish a tiny little classified ad announcing the arrival of their company. So there are lots of considerations, and this is all in the book, because after after finding that perfect idea and making sure that it's the perfect idea, and then ultimately choosing the business entity, you have to have a business model. You have to have an idea, whether it's a formal business plan or not, but you do have to have a vision that you can execute. And then, of course, there are issues of intellectual property. There are issues of employment versus contractors versus vendors. There are questions of how you can do your advertising and your website and your marketing. All these things have a legal and very often a financial component. And so I think that this is a mistake that a lot of creative entrepreneurs deal with. The other one that is a biggie is just trying to do it themselves when it comes to contracts. That's a real no-no.
Yeah, that's huge, and of course we could spend probably 4 more interview podcast sessions on each one of those things. So
yes.
I want to move on to a question when we're talking about your book that you wrote and books that we've read. What are a couple books that you're reading right now? I know that you have put up a blog post on 20 books every creative entrepreneur should read. So let's pick one you're reading now that you like, and then one that you feel like every entrepreneur should be reading.
Well, the book I'm reading now, I actually got it in Kindle version and then bought the hard copy because it requires sitting on my coffee table or my kitchen table waiting for me to open it. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure book, and it's brand new, and that's Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss.
Oh, neat.
It's actually pretty astounding how
Isn't
useful.
it like a 700-page book?
Yeah, it's close to that. It's astounding how it over-delivers in every way, and but it really is incredibly useful. So I'm also reading Sapiens by Harare. I can't remember his first name, which is also a fascinating book, and that's just about our place in the history of the universe and our place in the history of mankind. So it's a really cool book. As for entrepreneurs, God.
Yeah, where do you start?
Where do I start? That's a really good question.
Let me tell you where I would start.
Yes.
Read something. Read something. Right? I mean, you think about Michael Gerber's E-Myth. You got to take time to work on your business, not in your business. And one element of working on your business is keeping your mind sharp with good, solid readings. So whatever book we or you or anyone would recommend is do something and read, because you cannot grow your mind and your business in any your influence without staying up to date on cutting edge things. And the cutting edge things most of the times are in books and on podcasts. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of entrepreneurs miss, is they just think, I got my degree, I'm done, or I stay up with industry things because I get an email newsletter from McKinsey or whoever, and it's like you don't read it and assimilate it. So boy, I would encourage you, read, do something every day, 15 minutes a day or an hour block of time once a week, something, and read something to better yourself personally and professionally.
I would agree with that. I would go farther than that.
Sure, yeah.
If you are able to read, otherwise listen, because I think that audiobooks can serve the same purpose and podcasts can often serve the same purpose. But I would have to say, and I'm an attorney, so I have to serve my clients, I would say I spend between articles, books, podcasts, audiobooks, you name it, I would say I spend 3 to 4 hours a day cumulatively reading. And you have to recognize, I'll tell you what book I highly recommend it's not just for entrepreneurship, it's for life, is Essentialism.
Yep, I've heard of that one, and it really is just about simplicity and getting something done, in the fewest steps, right?
Yes, but it's not just about that. And one of the concepts that I love being reinforced in that book is the concept of trade-offs. The reality is that if I'm spending 4 hours reading or listening, there's something I'm not doing. And so for me, that's something that I'm not doing is I've drastically reduced my amount of TV time to almost zero. I used to listen to sports radio all day at work. Now I fill my time with listening to audiobooks or podcasts. So if I'm in the car, it's either an audiobook or a podcast, and every so often when I'm just looking for relaxation, then it's music. But, you have to think about the trade-off. What are you giving up in order to do what it is you want to do? And my book actually deals with that issue of values and priorities in depth.
Yeah, I love that concept a whole lot. I mean, it's the opportunity cost. If I'm doing this right now, what is this keeping me from doing, personally or professionally? And guess what? I'll bet you've heard some clients and colleagues in the past from your profession or others that are workaholics. And how about the kids' program that you miss or the sports game that you miss? So I think that another aspect of that is balance. So, yeah, while we're doing all of this, we got to have that balance. And then that can go out of balance, too, because you can do too much on the personal side and whatever that may be, and you really should be honing in on your business skills. So I think those are huge pieces. So your forthcoming book that is coming out just in days, what's the best way that people can learn more about it as well as learn more about your practice?
Well, to learn all about the Gasp, how to seize that aha moment and turn it into a winning business, go to graspthegasp.com. And you can learn all about me at michaelprywes.com, and my law practice is newyorkstartupattorneys.com. And you can email me at mp@newyorkstartupattorneys.com.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for taking your time today. Looking forward to reading your book. And, of course, it's always a pleasure to talk to people of like mind that reads and studies and invest themselves in their clients. So thank you so much. And it was a pleasure getting to know you.
Mike, thank you so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.